Alright, getting ready to talk about greatest common factors. This should be a review. These are factors that are shared by two or more whole numbers. This first problem is just a refresher of what factors are. Factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Factors of 32 are 1 and 32, 2 and 16, 3 does not go in there, 4 times 8, 5 doesn't go into 32, 6 doesn't, nor does 7. The common factors then are 1, 2, and 4. And the greatest common factor happens to be 4. My next example is just finding some of those greatest common factors. So the first thing I'm going to do is take 24 and find all of its factors. So 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. I'll find the factors of 60 now. 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, 6 and 10. The greatest common factor then would happen to be 12. They're the largest number that they share in common. On my next example, I'll write down the factors of 18, 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 times 6. Factors of 27, 1 and 27, 3 and 9. Those are the only factors of 27. Greatest common factor then is 9. On my next example here, I'm going to be looking at the greatest common factors for 12 and 16. So again, the factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Factors of 16 are 1 and 16, 2 and 8, and 4 times 4. Greatest common factor is 4. Last example, this is all refresher. You should have learned this at some point in time before. It's a good review. Factors of 15, 1 and 15, 3 and 5. Factors of 25 are 1 times 5, 25 and 5 times 5. So the greatest common factor is 5. Getting ready to talk about the next part, we're going to talk about monomials. Remember, that is a term that stands alone. It doesn't have any plus or minus signs between it. What we're going to talk about is that its greatest common factor is the largest number that they share in common, as well as the lowest exponent, so the lowest amount of x's that they share in common. So I'll give you an example here. With the numbers, we're just looking at the factors of 3, which are 1 and 3, and the factors of 6 are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. So the greatest common factor on the numbers is 3. However, if you look at the x's, we're looking at how many x's do they share in common. That would be its greatest common factor, and they share 2 of them in common. So that would just be an x squared. Let's look at a couple more examples like that on this video. This time I give you the numbers of 4 and 5. 4 and 5 have no factors in common. X squared and y cubed have no variables in common. So there is no GCF for this problem. These two numbers here, 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 times 6, 1 and 27, and 3 times 9. The greatest common factor is 9. Most of you can probably do that in your head, and that's fine. The G's, there's 2 G's here, and there's 3 G's here. How many G's do they share in common? They share 2 G's in common, so G squared, 9G squared, is the greatest common factor. There's a few more of these on the third video.